Fentanyl overdose deaths are skyrocketing across the country. And here in Tennessee, the state health department reports 500 fentanyl-related deaths in 2017, a 70% increase from 2016. CDC calls the synthetic drug the third wave of the opioid crisis. New at 4 later on from our sister station in Nashville. Looking into the potency and danger of fentanyl, she talks with a recovering addict.
After almost 25 days in rehab at the Next Door in West Nashville,
I feel much better emotionally, physically.
Sarah is packing up her past.
Because I don't want to have to wake up ever again and have to do some kind of drug to make myself feel better or get off sick.
Going home.
Mainly, I want to see my son get off the bus and just squeeze him real tight.
And preparing for the next big test in beating her opioid addiction.
The temptations are out there, so I am, just a little nervous about that. But I also think that I'm in the perfect spot or set up for success. From here on out, it's just me and my willpower.
For recovering opioid addicts like Sarah, the test lies in overcoming the need for the high that comes with drugs like heroin. The danger lying in the unknown.
The bottom is ultimately dying, and that's what's going on right now, is the fentanyl being mixed with stuff. And if you don't end up dying, you're pretty darn close to it.
Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, so it's in the same family of morphine and heroin and Demerol and all the opioids. What makes it sort of unique is that it's incredibly potent.
Medical director at the Next Door, Dr. Michael Ferry, says the danger comes from how quickly fentanyl can get to the brain to give users that high.
It turns out that fentanyl and its derivatives is one of the most potent molecules to bind the mu opioid receptor, which is responsible for our analgesia and pain, but also for respiratory depression, which is what can kill people.
That bind so tight, making it hard for life-saving Narcan to reverse an overdose.
Fentanyl binds much, much more tightly. So it's much more potent, and it binds, it's more sticky at that receptor site. So a dose of Narcan may not be enough to push off that fentanyl.
For comparison, fentanyl is roughly 100 times more potent than morphine, a naturally occurring opioid. And for perspective, this is sugar. Just a couple of grains, if this were fentanyl, it would be enough to kill the average person. The potency has drug dealers cashing in.
People are cutting the heroin with the fentanyl just to make it stretch.
And at a certain point, buying OxyContins, Opanas, things like that off the street becomes too expensive, and that's then where the fentanyl comes in, is that the drug dealers can then cut that fentanyl to make it cheaper for them to market a more potent product.
Sarah says she's had close calls with fentanyl-laced heroin.
Luckily, I've been fortunate, but yeah, that's the bad part, is nobody knows what's in there, and I know overdoses are on the rise because I've lost several friends to it.
But Sarah says she's determined not to let that happen. For herself, her family,
Sorry.
Especially her son.
I'm looking forward to being a much happier mom. And I was an involved mom before, but I want to be a more involved mom.
Now, Sarah adds this is her second attempt to get clean and hopes it will be her last.